where should you keep your emergency fund? I'm going to rank 10 places from the worst to the best. And stay tuned because the best one is going to surprise you. Hi, and welcome to the Money Matters MD Show. My name is Dr. Abhishek Gadre. I'm a practicing physician, and I help high-income professionals like you take control of your money. Now, before you get started with your investing journey, you should save up 3 to 6 months of your expenses in emergency reserves. But are there any best practices as to where this particular emergency reserve should be at? Because this is not a small amount of money. This is 6 months of cash is a significant amount of money for most people. So I'm going to go from rank 10 all the way to rank 1, and I'll classify them by traffic light signals. Red light, which is terrible ideas, yellow light, which are acceptable ideas, and green light, which are excellent recommended ideas. So rank 10 is investing your emergency fund in a single stock. Now, I've talked to people who've invested their emergency reserves in a Tesla stock or an Nvidia stock. I think that's a crazy idea. These are very volatile stocks. Maybe your money will grow in the long run, but your emergency fund should be invested in something extremely boring and stable. Now, rank 9 is something very similar, like investing in an S&P 500. Now, this is much more diversified and better than investing in a single stock, but you're still invested in the stock market, and this is still a highly volatile investment. So when a recession hits, often a lot of people lose their jobs and the unemployment rate goes up really high. And that is when most people will have to access their emergency reserves. Now, in the middle of a recession, think of you saved 3 months of emergency funds. Now, let's say S&P 500 is down by 35% or 40 or 50%. You have half of your money left in emergency fund. And that's why it's a terrible idea to invest in the stock market as your emergency fund. Now, let's move on to the category of acceptable, but you can do better, yellow light ideas. So rank 8 is having a stack of cash at home in your safe. You're basically getting 0 interest rate on this cash because it's essentially sitting at your home and nobody's paying you any interest on it. Now, if you actually have a theft or robbery, you're at risk of actually losing this money. Now, rank 7, a slightly better idea, is having money in your checking account. In fact, most of Americans actually hold their emergency reserves in a checking account. Now, it's not a terrible idea, it's an acceptable idea, but you can do a lot better. Now, most American banks pay 0 interest on holding cash in a regular checking account. Now, rank 6 is holding money in a regular brick and mortar savings account. Now, savings account pays you a slightly bit more interest, but it's not a lot more. It's about 1 or 2 basis points. Now, let me explain what basis point means. 1 basis point is 0.01% interest rate. That's the average interest rate that you would get in a large brick and mortar savings bank account. Now, rank 5 is investing in a CD ladder. Now, this is a bit of a complicated strategy. You can buy CDs which are maturing, say, every 6 months, and you have 6 months of reserves, and every 6 months you sell a CD and buy the new CD for the next 6 months period. Now, this is complicated and you have to keep up with this every single month, but you would get a set amount of interest rate for the current short-term treasury deposit rate. The Federal Reserve Bank sets the benchmark interest rate in the US, which currently, as I'm making this video, is around 3.75% to 4%. Now, if you buy a short-term CD, you will get somewhere around that rate, but you will have to keep up with that. Let's say you buy a 6-month CD and you make a CD ladder of CDs maturing every single month over the next 6 months, and every month one CD graduates and you keep reinvesting it and maintain this ladder. But this is better than having all your money in a checking or a savings account, which is paying no interest rate whatsoever. But this is too hectic, and there's a lot better options out there right now. Now, let's graduate to the top 4 ideas, which are excellent ideas, and these are all green light ideas. Now, rank 4 is high yield savings accounts. These are all FDIC insured accounts, and all of these accounts are online only banks, so they don't have a lot of expenses. They don't have any brick and mortar branches, but all of them will provide you a much higher interest rate compared to a brick and mortar bank. All of these high yield online saving bank accounts are competing with each other all the time, and every month the interest rate changes. So if you want to access the list with the highest interest rate right now, you can go to nerdwallet.com and I'll show you, I'll paste the link in the description and on the screen right now, and you can click on it and see which the highest interest rate bank account right now is. Now, as you can see, as of today, the highest interest rate is Open Bank, which is around 4.2%, and the second highest is Everbank, which is 4.05%. Now, mind you, I've never heard of these particular banks. All of them are basically competing with each other. And whenever you see an interest rate, for example, you're seeing Open Bank at 4.2%, whenever you see an interest rate which is higher than the current federal interest rate, this is probably a promotional rate. It's not going to stick around for too long because a bank is not going to take losses for too long, because what the bank is making is what the federal interest rate is, and they're not going to pay you more than what the Fed is paying them. There are still a few better options out there, and let's talk about rank 3. Now, Vanguard and Fidelity, they both have cash accounts. The one I like better is the Fidelity Cash Management Account. Now, the Fidelity Cash Management Account essentially invests your money in a money market fund. Now, what a money market fund is, that Fidelity by default takes your money and invests it in ultra short treasuries. And this essentially gives you the current federal interest rate, which is somewhere between 3.75 and 4%. Now, Vanguard does exactly the same in their Vanguard Cash Plus account, except that Vanguard's money market funds give you a slightly higher interest rate because their expense ratios are slightly lower. And Vanguard actually has one of the lowest expense ratios when it comes to money market funds, somewhere around 0.09 to 0.1% expense ratios right now. Now, both Vanguard and Fidelity have an option of putting your money in an FDIC insured fund, but the FDIC insured fund basically gives you a lot less interest rate. For example, the Fidelity Cash Management Account FDIC fund pays around 2.09% as opposed to the money market fund, which is paying 3.78%. Now, in my mind, short-term treasuries are equally safe compared to an FDIC insured fund. Now, the treasury also backs the FDIC insurance. So the real risk of treasury actually failing is minimum to zero. And I would rather you take the short-term treasury rate than trying to worry about the FDIC insurance. Now, I personally use the Fidelity Cash Management account. It actually comes with a debit card, which is pretty nifty. Even has no international exchange fee. So you can spend money when you're in a foreign country. You can even withdraw money out of it from an ATM without incurring any foreign exchange fees. Vanguard's Cash Plus account doesn't actually give you a debit card right now, but the FDIC insured fund from Vanguard pays a higher interest rate around 3.5% compared to that of Fidelity's. Rank 2 is money market funds in any of your investment firms. Now, if you're investing money at Schwab or Fidelity, all of them have their own money market funds, and they give you interest rates somewhere close to 3.75 to 4%, and they have an expense ratio somewhere around 0.3 to 0.4%. Did you know that saving for an emergency fund is step 1 of the savings ladder? The savings ladder is a 10-step process in which you go from broke all the way to financially independent, and it tells you exactly where to put your money to work next. Now, if you're new to your investing journey, I'd highly recommend you go watch this video, and I'll attach it right here and put the link in the description below. Now, rank 1 is actually a tie. Now, best place you could put your money giving the highest reliable yield is a Vanguard money market account. Now, one of the examples is VUSXX. The expense ratio is merely 0.09%, and the current yield is somewhere around 4%. Now, you can access a Vanguard money market fund either through a Vanguard brokerage account or through the Vanguard Cash Plus account. So what if you don't have a Vanguard account? Even non-Vanguard account holders have an equally good option. It's basically a ultra short-term treasury ETF. So SGOV is a iShares 0 to 3 month treasury ETF. These are ultra short-term treasuries which basically give you the current federal interest rate. So the current rate as we speak is around 4.0%. and the expense ratio is around 0.09%, This is neck to neck with the Vanguard money market account. If you have a Vanguard account, you can just keep your money in a Vanguard Treasury money market fund. Or if you don't have a Vanguard account, you can just buy SGOV, which will give you just a slightly few decimal points higher return than, let's say, you're at Schwab and you bought the Schwab money market fund, or you're at Fidelity, you bought the Fidelity money market fund. This is just a few decimal points better. We are splitting hairs here, but all the top four options between the SGOV ETF and the money market funds, pretty much from any investment firm or a high yield savings account, are all excellent options. I'll give them a green light. Hey everyone, just a quick few updates from the editor's desk. By the time I recorded this video and I'm editing the video, there's already a few significant updates, and I thought I should just record an additional snippet. So Fed, as of December 10th, 2025, cut the federal interest rate down by 0.25%. And now it's 3.5 to 3.75% range. So this is the last cut for 2025, and we'll find out in 2026 what happens next. And so what you can basically expect is all your high yield saving accounts and the ultra short treasury ETFs, all of their interest rates could pretty much go down by 0.25 percentage point, and same with the money market funds. Now, the second update I had is I found out about an even better ultra short treasury ETF, which is from Vanguard. So Vanguard introduced a VBIL ETF in early 2025, which is relatively new. It's a direct competitor to SGOV from iShares. Now, SGOV and VBIL, if you look up the 30-day SEC yield, they're pretty identical. So VBIL as of today is 3.83%, and SGOV as of today is 3.82%. So pretty darn identical. The expense ratio on VBIL is just a hair lower. It's at 0.07%. So it's just very slightly better than SGOV, which is already quite low at 0.09%. So officially, we have a winner here. The best ultra short-term treasury bond ETF to keep your emergency fund would be VBIL moving forward. And again, if you compare them side to side, they are identical. They're extremely stable. They're both, again, 0 to 3 month treasury bills. Now, a third update I had was regarding municipal money market funds. So Vanguard has a state-specific municipal money market fund for California and New York. So for example, California, the fund is called VCTXX. And the yield as of today, we're in mid-December, the yield is 2.21%. Now, the municipal money market funds are basically tax-free of federal income taxes and state income taxes. So now, if you are somebody who's in an extremely high income tax bracket and you live in California, let's say you're 37% federal and 13% state of California, you're at 50% tax bracket. The 2.21% from this California municipal money market fund will effectively be double. So the tax equivalent yield would be 4.42%. So again, depending on which state you live in and depending on your tax bracket, you could consider a municipal money market fund from Vanguard, and even Schwab and Fidelity offer such funds as well. If you learned something useful today, please like and share my video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. Money Matters MD, over and out. This is for educational purposes only and not financial advice.